Coming up on this episode, I explore my thoughts around being lonely at Christmas, and as I've already said, this is something that I'm going to experience myself and have experienced. But it doesn't have to be a negative. There's so much to unpack here, and I try to do this episode in a way which kind of keeps you company and feels a bit like a conversation. But as always, it's hard to do when you're solo. But hopefully, this does serve as kind of food for thought and allows you to think about life a bit deeper and think about things from a new angle. Like, your loneliness doesn't have to be a negative. It can be fuel, it can be motivation, it could be a peep behind the curtains into an area that you need to work on an area that you've been neglecting on yourself. So don't let loneliness be a bad thing. So let's go and get into it and fully explore this topic. What's going on, beautiful people? This is the Perspective Chasers podcast. I'm your host, John, and on this episode, I'm talking about being lonely at Christmas. But deeper than that, this episode is hopefully designed to kind of keep you company at this lonely time of year. I mean, loneliness is something that affects us all, myself definitely included. I've already said on this pod that once my little one's gone on Christmas Day to her mum's, I will more than likely be lonely. Like, there isn't really many people that I want to spend Christmas with or that I can spend Christmas with. So most of the day I probably will be on my own, but as always, it makes my mind wander. Like, on the surface, yeah, you can take being lonely at Christmas as a negative, but at the same time, there's so much room for you to enjoy life, for you to do things and everything else. Like, there's other people that are lonely that you find somebody to keep you company or you keep them company. There's so many different ways in which you could experience that day. It really is down to you and how you decide to kind of delve into it. Like, I already thought once little one goes, maybe I'll just take a drive somewhere and go see what the sky looks like if the skies are clear as it's the end of the winter solstice. And I've never really experienced that side of life, or just kind of go exploring, see what's going on in the world. Like, just because you can't necessarily do what you want to do, it doesn't mean that there's nothing to do. Like, it would be nice to have somebody to spend the whole of Christmas Day with and just be merry and da 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 da. But that's not the reality for everybody. And it's not always going to be the kind of choice for everybody. Some people would prefer to be alone for Christmas, and that's fine. And I think just taking the time to kind of think about and explore all of the other options of ways people kind of spend their Christmas or celebrate their Christmas. Like, look around the world, everybody celebrates Christmas differently. They have different traditions. Some people start Christmas earlier than others, and others start it very last minute. Like, everybody has their way. Some people don't celebrate it at all. So there's always going to be that thing. Like, I remember one of my friends before, he used to always go to another part of London where they didn't close down at Christmas. Everything was still running like normal. So, like, these places still exist. Like, not all of the world comes to a halt. Like, it does feel like that, and for the majority of the world that is true. But there is still places for you to go, or people for you to meet up with, or things for you to do if you look for them. Like, the world never stops, no matter what happens, whether it be Christmas, New Year, a new birth, a death, whatever it is, the world keeps on turning. So you just got to keep busy. And there's different types of keeping busy. Like, keeping busy and distracting yourself, like indulging, watching series, games, a book that scratches that itch, whatever it may be. That is all valuable and it's all good, but it's... Damn it, I lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. But that happens. But yeah, like, there's so many ways to experience Christmas and to spend Christmas. Don't think just because you haven't got a whole family of people around a dinner table that you haven't got a way to experience Christmas or enjoy Christmas. It's so easy to kind of think that everybody else's norm or everybody else's idea of the normal is desirable or is what we should achieve, but more often than not, that's not true. Like most people's idea of Christmas, I probably wouldn't enjoy. And my idea of Christmas, some people probably wouldn't enjoy. Like there's things that make like there's nostalgic aspects to Christmas for me, like the way that my mum used to decorate the house, or the way that she used to get carried away with ornaments and sweet tables and this and that. So now I kind of mirror that with my daughter in my own way. But not everybody has those traditions or experiences. So for other people doing all of that stuff, it won't make sense. There's certain Christmas movies that, whether they're good or bad movies, they hold a special place in your heart. They have that nostalgic twinkle to them. So they may not make sense to watch them to other people, but for you, that's your Christmas tradition. That's your way of feeling whole or feeling that Christmas spirit. Like, so for me, there's always that kind of child aspect to Christmas, like that. I suppose the inner child that I always deny that is there. But like just kind of letting yourself kind of run away with wonder and get giddy and excitable and enjoy Christmas. Like, especially for me, I'm somebody that's probably quite serious a lot of the time. Like, there's always something to do in life. Something always needs my attention. Da 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 da. So having an outright excuse to just be silly, be merry, and just not give a damn, that's kind of why I enjoy Christmas. Like, it makes that kind of that childish aspect of yourself far more accepted. Like people dressing up in costumes and all the twinkling lights and the presents and cheeky gifts and this, that, and everything else. Like there's, there's so much fun to be had there that it's not worth kind of dismissing simply because you may not have somebody else's idea of a traditional Christmas. Right? There's loads of ways to celebrate. And inevitably, if you don't celebrate Christmas, it's just another day for you. The world will keep on turning. If you do celebrate Christmas, then enjoy it. But there's no reason to kind of, what's the way to put it? There's no need to put yourself down or feel bad about yourself or bad about your life simply because you may not have anybody to spend Christmas with. Like that may be this Christmas, that may have been last Christmas. It doesn't have to be next Christmas. Like life is always changing. You might find a new tradition. You might find a new way to experience it. Like some people's idea of Christmas is snow and Christmas trees and everything else. Other people's idea of it is beaches and barbecues. Like all around the world, life unfolds differently. So don't kind of sell your life short or value your life less simply because it's not in somebody else's picture of what it should be. Like your life is yours. Take pride in that. Good or bad, like it's your responsibility. Each day is yours. So take control of that. Like if you are alone and you have that freedom to explore, go explore. If you have interests, delve into them. Like or put some value back into the world. Like if you're that lonely at Christmas, find somewhere to volunteer. Like if you don't want to be alone, the option is there. But then if it's all about you don't want to be alone but under your kind of terms and conditions, that's a whole different question. So there are so many ways, like so many different places to spend Christmas, like I say. Like if I guess being alone in that sense kind of comes down to a choice. And that's not to dismiss it, but it is to say that you choose where to go. Like I said, I could choose to stay in Christmas afternoon and just be on my own, or I could choose to go for a drive and be on my own, or I could choose to find one of these places that is still open on Christmas Day. Or I could find somewhere to volunteer myself or spend my time. Like there's so many different ways in which I could spend Christmas. I mean, if I'm going to be completely honest, I'm probably going to spend it working on the pod in one regard or another, or maybe taking a little bit of John time, but I'm incredibly busy and the idea of loneliness does bother me, but it doesn't bother me to that extent. Like I understand why I'm lonely because I'm busy working and this and everything else. Like I've got other things to do. If you're there lonely and you've genuinely got nothing to do and nobody to spend time with, do something about it. Because it's quite clear that nobody else is gonna. So it really always does come down to your responsibility. And I know it's not always the easiest thing to say or hear. I really do believe it's true. Your life is your responsibility. So if you feel any which way about it, it's down to you to do something. Nobody else. I don't think anybody can guarantee on somebody else coming to save them. So save yourself. If you're going to do yourself any favors this Christmas, do that. Give yourself the gift of showing up for you. Because I guarantee you it will change your next year. If you do the things that you want the person... Damn it, I messed that up. If you do the things that the person you want to be does, soon you will become them. And I think that's something that is missold so much in life, is that a lot of life is a self-fulfilling prophecy, but you have to start with taking those actions. If you don't take those actions, you'll never get there. If you don't leave the house, you're not going to meet people. If you don't pick up a hobby, you're not going to have common ground with people. Like, there's so many different ways in which you can connect with people, but it's down to you to take that initial action. If you have any interests or hobbies, but you keep them to yourself, it's going to keep you sheltered away from other people. Whereas if you share that with the world, you'll find out there are far more people that have that interest than you do. Like, look, we live in a world of 7, 8 billion people. If there is even a 1% chance that somebody's going to have the same interest in you, that's like, what, 1 million people or more? Like, my maths might be wrong, so forgive me. But it's a lot of people regardless. Like, there's so much kind of to experience and to do in life. Don't tell yourself that there's nothing to do, nothing to experience, because that really couldn't be further from the truth. We're barely discovered an infinitesimal amount of what is actually in existence. And most of what we think we know is theoretical. So there is a lot to be discovered. There is a lot to be learned. There is a lot to do. So to say that there is nothing to do or there is no one to do things with, you're surrounded by a lot of people and a lot of stuff. It's just down to you to get out there and do it and meet those people. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody's going to make you friends. And realistically, why should they? And even if they did, are they going to make you good friends? Like that idea of playing matchmaker. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But somebody's idea of a good partner for you may not be a good partner for you. If somebody knows you really well and they might get lucky and be able to hook you up, or they might just have a knack for knowing people that click, but it's again down to you to have that experience to make that connection. You can't rely on others. At least that's always my experience. Your experience is your own. You'll go through life through your own lens. Like, you could be sitting in a room with 100 people or one person. The only person that you really know their thoughts and feelings of is yourself. Other people can tell you them, yeah. But is that the truth? Is that genuinely how they feel? Are they conveying it correctly? Have they used the right words? Are you interpreting it correctly? Like, so much of life outside of yourself is open for interpretation. Even life within yourself is open for interpretation. So kind of take solace in that. There's so much uncertainty in life that you can't say anything for certain, really. Which, at least for me, somebody that's curious and just kind of inquisitive in that way, is absolutely fascinating and builds that kind of air of wonder. So try, yeah, look, I've kind of gone off on a little bit of a tangent, but try not to let the idea of being alone kind of be a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes you need that peace and quiet and that time to yourself to think and to kind of bring things into kind of focus. Sometimes you need it just to switch off and chill out and mong out and be a bit of a slob in a way that you don't want the rest of the world to see you. I think inevitably it's going to come down to how you choose to paint it. Like, yeah, being lonely can be good. Being lonely can be bad. But inevitably it's your experience, so you choose how you act on it. You can't choose the kind of experiences that you have so much. That's probably a bad way of saying it. But you can choose how you respond to them. So to say it a better way, you can't choose necessarily what happens to you, but you can choose how you respond to what happens to you. And that takes time to kind of be more intuitive and be more self-aware and kind of know how you want to pursue life. Like you might not be right first go round, but by taking that time to sit down and think about these things and think about yourself and kind of have some conscious thought behind your experience, you will start to kind of navigate things a lot more and kind of make life a lot more in tune with you. Again, it's like trying to pick up an instrument and just trying to play it, not knowing whether it's tuned or not, or calibrated for you or whatever else. Whereas if you sit down and you tune that guitar and you make sure that it is how you want to play or how you feel comfortable playing, and then you try to play a song, it's going to sound far better. You're going to be far more comfortable. There's going to be far less resistance, and it's just going to lead to a better end result. Your life is the same and your body is that instrument. The more you listen to it, the more you tune it and then play it, the better kind of the the better the symphony, the better the action, the better the kind of processes work, the smoother everything runs. Because again, you've taken that time to listen and figure it out. I say it time and time again, you're worth that time. And if you can't see that, how is anybody else meant to? It all starts with you. So if you are lonely this Christmas, give yourself that gift of turning up for you. It's going to be the biggest thing you can do, and it's going to change a hell of a lot. When you actually start seeing the value in you, when you start understanding that you are worth all that is to experience and to witness and to be. There is so much in life, and it's all there for you to experience. So go get it. But again, you have to have that idea and that understanding that you're worth it and it is out there. If you don't believe it's out there, you're never going to go looking. So first have those hard conversations with yourself. They will pay off far more. Simply, ironically, being present is going to be so powerful. Like the more I kind of sit and do the pod and work on it, and it has been a slow burn, but like I've said time and time again, it's built up understanding. It's helped me kind of realize more about myself and build something that I'm proud of. Like I say, there's episodes of this pod which I contradict myself and say like I don't know if I can find something that I'd dedicate my life to or things like that. And the thing is, that was true when I said that. It was more because I convinced myself that what I wanted to do wasn't possible. But I hadn't even tried yet. So first of all, you've got to try. And how many of us kind of do this same thing of convincing yourself that something's not possible or something's not going to happen before you've even tried it? So kind of learning that practice of just like, okay, well, find out. Like I've said for a long, long time, kind of like as a catchphrase almost, that there's only one way to find out. And that is so true, but so many of us don't give ourselves the chance to find out. So if we just give ourselves that opportunity, there is so much to be discovered. Like now when I look back over the pod, I look over things I talk about or I have new conversations with people and I'm like, oh yeah, I've spoken about that on the pod before. I'll see something else and it'll be something that correlates to what I've said before or whatever else. And I'm like, haha, I'm out there in the universe. Like, and again, it's kind of like, it makes me look back fondly, but then also look forward fondly as well, because I can see I've taken action before and then that positively puts light on future action. And that just makes you feel good about life. It makes you kind of excited for the next day, but not in the same way that you kind of wish the week away when you're in a kind of dead end job and just kind of start hating life, which we've all been there. Like we've all been at a part of our life where we just kind of want to rush through the days. But that don't have to be all of life. Once you start to be present and once you start to actually kind of take inventory of your life and ask yourself what you want to do, what you want to experience, so much changes. it is a slow roll and it does take effort and it is up and down and da 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 da. But like, much like looking at like the stock market over a long time, if you look at it a day, it might look bad. Look at over a week, it might still look bad, but not as bad. Look at over a month and it starts to look good. Look at over 6 months, it starts to look okay. Look at over a year and you see it's actually constantly been on the up and up, although it's not been a smooth road. That's a lot like life. So give yourself that time. Don't rush yourself and actually be present. Again, like, if you can't see the value in yourself, how is anybody else? So give yourself that time to see the value. And then at least you know what to portray to the world or why the world should pay attention to you or why people should pay attention to you. Like, it all starts with you. Like, your actions, your feelings, your thoughts and your emotions, they create your reality. Everybody else is having a reality, yes, but it's all kind of intertwining. Like, your reality ain't base reality for anybody else, but it is for you and all of your experience. So take the time to kind of think about that and realize that your reality is yours. As much as other people are in it, it's down to you to take action and to kind of make the moves. Other people will react and life will react, yeah. But it is down to you to kind of take action and direct your life. You can't let life just float you about and push you around. And if you do, you can't complain about the result because you chose not to take action. So take the time and think about your life. And I hope this episode has kind of given you something to think about at Christmas and maybe giving you a new way to think about loneliness. I know it's something that I think about differently, and I know that's not to say that I'm always happy when I feel lonely or I don't feel lonely in a negative way, because I do, but the understanding of it now is far deeper. I understand myself better about it, or around it rather, and I take action around it more. But again, it's about sitting in it. Like, there's so many different tools and so many different methods to get there. But again, like, it all starts with like being present and accepting these things. Like, if you never accept the fact that you're lonely, you'll never take action on it. So sometimes it's just truly admitting your feelings to yourself. And sometimes the hardest person to be honest with is yourself, because you can't walk away from that person. You can't go to a different room or escape them or shut them out. You have to sit with them. So if they tell you an awkward truth, you've got to sit with it. But if you listen and you take action, things will improve. Like I said on the soul episode, I think there's a duality inside each of us between this kind of persona or personality and your soul. And I think your persona or personality is just that, your personality, how you approach life and the way you look at things and this, that, and everything else. But then your soul is that kind of guiding voice in life, that kind of thing that's always has that opposite to your own. No matter what it is, whether it be good or bad, it will always give you that little bit of opposite just to try to bring you into a kind of homeostasis or a point of equilibrium. And it's always to kind of test your boundaries to find out, is it something that you want to go for? Are you sure you want to do that? And that can be in any situation, good or bad. But I think it is valuable to listen to that and understand that. And the more time you take with that, I think the deeper the connection gets and the kind of the definitely the easier the connection gets. Like, look, I was a personal trainer for a long time and I trained in the gym myself since I was a teenager. I've absolutely loved it. But there's always been this talk about this like mind muscle connection, and I've explained it to people over and over and over again. And the better you get at it, the more you can kind of contract your muscles at will without the need for a weight, and you kind of can feel the muscle contract far more than just kind of going through the motions of it. I think the same is said with like a mind soul connection. Like, I think the two are separate things. Although they're one in the same in a sense, like they're two halves of the same whole. Like, I do think they have that kind of separate aspect to them, that kind of duality. And I think it definitely helps, but again, it's about acknowledging that duality within yourself. And it's interesting to sit, like, I'm thinking about this episode that I want to do, which is basically like a conversation with my soul. And it's going to take some time to get there, and I need to do a kind of some work on myself before I make that episode. But the concept is definitely interesting to me, and I want to kind of project this kind of inward world outward and kind of show people how to do it and kind of explore the inner workings of ourselves, because I think it's so quick to find kind of outside things to explore and everything else that we miss exploring ourselves. Like, even think about, like, as a child, you start exploring the outside world around you, and that's kind of what you continue to do. But for the first few years, you're sitting there with the inward world. You're sitting with your thoughts and your feelings, probably not able to kind of do much or express much, especially like if you're a baby. But your kind of your references in the world and everything else at that point are very few, or at least as far as we understand it. So to have coherent thoughts and to sit there and contemplate things deeply at that young age is very unlikely. And then by the time that you do have enough kind of know-how or knowledge to kind of sit there and have a coherent thought about life, life's too hectic or life's too outwardly focused to kind of comprehend it, at least for most of us. So to actually take that time and slow down and look at that inward world and explore it as an adult, once you do have kind of coherent thought, is so powerful and so valuable and so much of a tangent in a way, but hey, hopefully beneficial. Right. Anyway, I don't want to go on too many more tangents, and I'm a bit wrapped for time because it is a busy season. So I'll wrap this episode up. But look, the seed for this episode is going to be: don't paint your loneliness as a negative. Use it as fuel for the fire. If you are lonely, it means there's a part of your life in which you need to take action. You either need to get out of your box or kind of do some work on yourself, maybe just meet new people. Like, you could have the most beautiful piece of art in the world, the most beautiful song in the world, or whatever it may be. If you never put it out into the world and it never sees the light of day, it's never going to make an impact. So you are that beautiful piece of art. Go out into the world and make your impact. All the best, and I'll catch you on the next one.